ever dreamt of being a musician or a professional singer or had something to do with music professionally, it has never been a better time. India's creative industry, media and entertainment, is currently valued at 2.5 lakh crore rupees as of 2024 actually, and it's expected to grow to 3 lakh crore by next year. This is the government's projection, and of course, that number is a little hard to comprehend. So look at the anecdotal evidence. I'm pretty sure that over the last year, either you or someone that you know attended a music concert somewhere in India. And it is also easier now to get your tunes and get your music to reach millions through your own platforms. Reaching that virality is that much easier now compared with what it was 20 years back. I've wanted to have a conversation on this program, on MoneyWise, about how to make a career in music, and I must say that I got lucky. I was at the recent concert in Mumbai, and the person standing right next to me happened to be a famous music director and producer. What are the chances, right? And he was kind enough to join me in studio. Karan Kulkarni, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
No, it's my absolute pleasure. First of all, what did you think about the concert? Because I didn't catch you at the end of it.
I was blown away. Yeah. It was really good. And to see John Mayer live, I didn't expect it for a lot of years in the future, because up until now, you only listen to bands in India when they were retiring or they were really old. So to see someone who's in their prime was a great experience, and it was a fun concert. I'm sure we had a lot of good interactions.
No, absolutely. And I think I was blown away with the fact that he was playing so beautifully. He didn't even have a talk back. He didn't have he didn't have anything in his ear. But having said that, I'm just looking at the caliber of musicians that have performed over the last 12 months to 18 months, right? You've had Ed Sheeran, you've had several large, Bryan Adams has come through. What does that tell you about India and the appetite for these experiences?
There's definitely a large appetite for it. People are opening up a lot more to going out and experiencing all kinds of things, all kinds of events, right? And I remember many years ago, I would go out with my friends who were into music, and a lot of the people that would come to any concert were mainly people that knew the music of the artist. And now it's opened up so much that a lot of people who don't even know the artist want to be there. Maybe they just want to be there for the experience, or they're opening up to the idea of a concert. So I think it's definitely growing from how it used to be before.
So I do want to talk about what that means for you as a music professional. And to reach that point, actually, let's start with how you started down this path of being a music professional in the first place. Did you always know that you wanted to be a musician, that you wanted to make a career out of it?
I didn't grow up playing music early on, as most musicians do. I came from a family of doctors.
Wow.
So complete, other direction, if I can call it that. But that said, around the age of 15 or so, I started playing guitar, and that's when I started really getting into it. And something in me started saying that this is what you have to do in life. This is what you will always do. And so that stuck on, and that's how I got into it.
No, but and you 15, right? So a lot of people actually start playing an instrument much earlier than that.
True.
And so it's pretty late, and you've actually picked it up amazingly. I've seen some of the work that you've done. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Having said that, I do want to understand what the thinking was, because this is quite a while back. I'm wondering, you said that you come from a family of doctors. Yeah. Was there ever a conversation saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this?
Every day.
And how do you deal with that?
It was hard. It was hard because they don't, also that time, many years ago, people weren't very open to it. A lot of families weren't open to it, getting into music. Now people have still opened up to a lot of it. You find a lot of young people getting into music and theater and dance and all kinds of stuff. Back then, you either had to be a doctor or because I come from the family, or an engineer.
Yeah.
You'd get into
or a chartered accountant.
Or an accountant, or doing some sort of a business thing, right?
Yeah.
So it was definitely hard, extremely hard.
So black sheep of the family?
Yeah, black sheep.
Still?
Still, not anymore.
Not anymore, because you've made it.
If things work out for you, you're not the black sheep.
Exactly, right?
Then
That's
you're
the thing.
Golden child, wow.
I'm glad that the fleece has changed color. But having said that, let's talk about the career path that you've taken, because if there are people tuning in right now, they need to understand the twists and turns that your career has taken. Then we'll talk about the current scenario.
Sure. So I started, I was lucky enough to study music production in Australia, which is when I came back and assisted a music director in Mumbai. From there on, I happened to get my first film, just by being in the industry, meeting people, knowing other people that were in film. One thing led to another, and I managed to do a short film, and then things grew from there. I did many films over the years, and it all happened because of the work I had done before, right? So you start with something, you start with one project or one song or one score for a short film, and one thing leads to another. People listen to your work, they like your work, and things build on from there. So that's the quick version of how things have happened for me. But that said, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Right? Because it takes time. It's not, you get into music, you think that, oh, I'm going to play my instrument and people are going to like it and it's all going to work out well and I'll be an instant success. But there's a lot of hard work that's involved in just making music, playing music, practicing an instrument, learning the technology around it, even meeting people, trying to get more gigs or jobs or whatever it is you're trying to do. There's that, and then there's rejection, right? You make music for many years and your ideas get rejected, but eventually you tailor your work.
You tweak your work.
You tweak your work. You try to understand what it's like, what is really working, why are they not liking something I'm doing, and that's where you kind of find, I wouldn't say it's a middle ground, it's also learning. You find
the sound that people like.
Exactly, what that people like. And then of course you've got your own side thing happening as well to be an artist.
So tell me something. You said that it's not always been easy. From a financial standpoint, were you ever in a situation where you thought to yourself and asked yourself whether you'd made the right decision choosing a life in music?
I'd say early on it was, but I've also been fortunate maybe, or been at the right place at the right time. I know for a lot of people it can get really difficult for a long time before they make it.
You hear stories of struggling artists,
of course,
all the time.
All the time.
Mumbai is full of them.
Full of them, absolutely. And no one really knows what the reason is, right? It could be, you need to be talented, but sometimes it could be your attitude towards things. Sometimes you're not in the right place at the right time. Luck is a major factor. Whatever the reason, there are so many reasons for it. For me, it was an initial struggle, you could say. But luckily for me, I somehow ended up meeting the right people at the right time. So I guess that's what worked for me. And even though I didn't always manage to give it my best initially, even though I put my all into it, I didn't manage to crack a few projects here and there. But then, those are the struggles, because you work really hard towards something and it doesn't work out. But then somewhere down the line, you start understanding, what works and what doesn't, and you start getting other projects that kind of suit what interests you, and those things start to lead to bigger things.
From what I was reading online, you have produced music, you have directed music, you are a musician. So it's a pretty wide cohort of things and responsibilities that you've taken up over the years, right? So have you added facets to the things that you've done over a period of time? How did that work?
See, firstly, for someone who's getting into this, right, I would always suggest in modern times to have your hands in a lot of things when it comes to music and entertainment. To be able to, play an instrument is really important. To compose also helps. It's kind of a byproduct of that in a way. So for me, I've, started with one instrument, learned the technology behind it, whether it's on the computer, composing using the computer, producing, therefore, as a result of that, and also being a music director, which kind of is a natural evolution of that from working in films here in India, right, and advertising. So I've always been interested in the technology side and the instrumental side.
Is it necessary to get into the technology side?
In modern times, yes. See, you can be one thing and be really good at it and do that forever. But what makes just having a larger overview of everything gives you a little bit more expertise in the various areas of music. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I'm kind of getting what you're trying to say, but let's talk about the current scenario, right? So, we're at a time when you have OTT, where a lot of content is getting generated. You have a situation where Bollywood is continuing to make music. There is South-based music as well, a flourishing industry. So the avenues exist. There is ad film that is happening both on TV as well as for digital. So explain the avenues that exist right now. And of course, I've kind of overarching given the view, but you know the industry and you know the contours of it. Can you explain where a musician can find work?
A musician can find work in a lot of different places in this entire music landscape in India, right? So of course you could be a composer for films, for advertising, for OTT. Film and OTT kind of overlap. It's a similar sort of storytelling thing. There's advertising as well, which is a different industry. Some people do both, like I do both. So there's that. You could compose for that. You could compose a film score, background score, or you could be the song composer, or you could be both, right? So
lyrics as well. You do lyrics as well.
Lyrics. I write in English. I don't write in Hindi. So if I'm writing a song for a film, I have a lyricist on board who would write that usually. So that's composing. You could also be a musician, right? You're really good at an instrument, so you could be hired as a session musician for a film or a recording for a film or an ad film. You could also be a live musician, which is playing live, doing concerts. Like, we saw a few at the John Mayer concert opening for
very good ones.
Very good ones. So that's another maybe career option. But there's also sound engineers, and there's a whole bunch of people. There's even the business side. So there's music business, there's events. You can be related to the music industry in a lot of ways now. There's labels. You could join a record label. You could be part of that ecosystem. So,
and if you describe the environment and the opportunities as they stand right now, and you compare them with what they were when you began, and when was that, by the way?
So I'd say that was I've been working professionally for maybe 16 years.
Sure.
But before that, I've been into music as well.
So 16 to 20 years back, if you compare the landscape then with what it is right now, what is the difference?
I think it's grown a lot in a lot of different ways. It's more structured. There is a lot more. Of course, this whole OTT industry has kind of popped up, and streaming and all of these things didn't exist then. So there's more avenues there. Also, a lot of the independent music that, if you were an independent artist, you were just an artist, and maybe a few people somewhere that went to your concert or found you on an obscure website online, heard your music, or 20 of your friends in your hometown where you lived listened to your music, right? That was independent music. But now there are labels, multiple labels for it. There are these songs are being picked up in films. There is a more structured sort of system for it. Of course, it's growing, and I think I hope eventually it'll be a lot more. It'll be a lot more structured than it is, and it'll also help the artist a lot more.
Okay.
So none of that was there earlier. So I think it's definitely grown from where I was before.
Do you think that people have to struggle more or less right now to get their music heard?
Less, way less, because of technology and how easy it is to put it out there. So in that sense, way less. But what that also leads to is everyone putting something out there, right? And then there's even AI things that are generating music. There's a lot of stuff.
So a lot of people are calling an end to several things with artificial intelligence, but you heard, for example, Javed Akhtar speaking about artificial intelligence, saying, and I can't possibly use the lyrical words that he uses, but effectively he's saying that you can't expect a robot that has not experienced pain and loss and suffering and love to write music because ultimately that is a human expression. Do you agree?
I definitely agree. Also, the human element is very extremely important in something like music, because music is, at the end of it, it's culture, right? It's not number crunching somewhere. You can get a computer to do that, some sort of a process that can be automated, that we don't really need to watch or make a part of our culture, something that's being calculated somewhere else and done at the back end. Those sort of things are good for AI. It might speed up the process for us. Of course, you can generate AI based music and all of that, but what really connects with people, and we are all human, right, is if the music, where it's coming from, the origin of it is from another human, right? You need to connect at a human level.
Is there a middle ground?
I don't think it's about a middle ground, if you ask me. It's not about a middle ground. I think, look, AI will be used in certain places, certain ad films, certain films will use them. But you will always need that human connect.
Sure.
With something that another human creates, right? You'll always want to go on stage, go live and watch a real person play music. And you want to see them sweat and play and go through it for the 2 hours. You want to jump and sing and shout with them. So it's not going away anytime soon. Certain things might make life easier for us, maybe added into our process, but I don't think it's going away.
Okay, that's well put. I do want to ask you, and you've described how the landscape has shifted. So assume there's somebody listening in right now who has a base level of skill, probably is very good at what they're doing, but they haven't made the jump, right? Because they're scared. A lot of people are scared to say that, look, I do this as a hobby, but I'm not confident enough, or I'm not sure enough in getting that paycheck on an ongoing basis to make the jump. How would you go about, say, for example, and you studied music, you studied production, you said you went to Australia and did a course. How important is it to do that if you want to supplement and you want to say that this is what I want to do for life?
Right. Look, firstly, no one is asking you for a degree. No one is checking,
sure.
in music. There are a lot of
ability.
Fields. Yeah, it's ability. You're good or you're not, right? And you need to be really, really good at what you do, and you need to really love it, right? Because if you don't, then you're going to get burnt out or bored, or it's going to, after a point, you're going to find it to be a huge challenge, or whatever other reason where you might want to quit it, right? So for the people who want to, just enjoy music, you want to play your instrument for an hour as a hobby, you enjoy it, you love it, but you want to spend an hour or two every day, enjoy it for yourself, and play music for the rest of your life. Maybe it isn't for you. But the people who are really truly obsessed about it, who can't think of anything beyond that, for them, it's definitely a place something you can get into.
Okay, so let's assume that person has listened to this, they've listened to you, they've had that soul searching, and they've said, this is what I want to do with my life. What are the steps that you would suggest?
Okay, so it depends on which field within music you want to get into.
Okay.
So say you want to be a composer, right? Firstly, you should be doing that otherwise as well on your own. You should be, whether it's composing a tune on an instrument or working or building something on a computer, building a whole song or a piece for a film. That's number one. Your practice has to happen every day. You have to do it every day. Now let's say you're good at that. You're really good at that. Reaching out to people is super important. You want to network as much as you can. That helps. I am horrible at it, but I'm learning to get better. But I'd say reaching out to people, trying to meet people in film, trying to meet people in the music industry, try and meet other musicians, other people who are a part of it, and one thing will lead to another. That's how it works usually. You show them something, they like it. They're like, oh wow, that's a nice song. Maybe I'll use it in my short film. A lot of film students go on to become filmmakers. A lot of people who are assistant directors may become filmmakers.
Should you get gigs? Should you perform? And this is from the composer, but usually you're also playing something, right? So should you get your music out to gigs in the city maybe that you're at?
Definitely, most definitely. And you can make it it's a lot easier these days because you've got the internet, right? And you can put it everywhere.
Sure.
You put it up, you put it on Instagram or
Is there
whatever
a risk
social
of
media.
doing that purely from the perspective of some of these softwares, and ultimately we're working at the edge of everything that is happening, right?
Yeah.
Regulations haven't caught up with.
Yeah.
And here I'm talking about copyright.
Yeah.
So if there is a software that's scrubbing the internet and pulling your voice or pulling your song or pulling your sound, the ability to craft something that is 19-20 ka farak, and then they can claim hypothetically that it's not your song.
True.
So is there a danger there?
I mean, that's a whole other conversation. It's a deep, long conversation.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a danger there. But that said, you can't be living under a rock.
Sure.
Right? You want your music to be out there. You want to be seen and heard. You want to build an online presence, which I need to do as well. I'm guilty of not
But
doing.
how would you do that? Are you talking about using, for example, your Spotify, your Apple, your various other things?
Yeah.
Can you upload your music there? Is that what you suggest?
Upload your music there, put it out, have some sort of an online presence on social media, make sure people are aware of what you're doing. And I think these are things people are doing anyway now.
Yeah.
You play an instrument or you make music as a band, you start putting it out, let people know about it, try and push it as much as you can. If you can get involved with a label that probably is willing to push you, that's another option as well. Playing gigs, that's where you build a lot of your fan base.
Okay, so now let's talk money, right? Because ultimately you said you went through a phase early on where things were not easy. And I think we've established that a lot of people go through that on an ongoing basis. So how do you keep the meter running, Karan? That's the big question, right?
Right. So to keep the meter running, you need to, like I said early on, you need to try and get your hand into a lot of things. So that's try and get a variety of jobs. So if you play an instrument, try and get, instrument jobs, like where you're playing, say you play the piano or the guitar, then you go and do gigs with it live. You do recording sessions with it live. But you also compose, you also, maybe engineer something if you can. That's one way of looking at it. Or just trying to, get yourself as spread out as possible, if you know what I mean. When it comes to
So taking small ad films,
taking
maybe,
small
or
ad films, or even just doing all kinds of work that's related to music. Don't be stuck in your head, oh, I play this and this is all that I'll do.
when you're starting out, is it a good idea to maybe have a full-time job and do this part-time?
If you're already working, you could do that and try and hustle your way through where you kind of convert and change finally.
It's not as easy as it sounds, though.
It's not as easy. Also, if you're used to a 9-to-5 job, this is going to be difficult because a freelancer's life is extremely different, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be days where you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And
How do you
then
deal with that?
it's
How did you
hard.
deal with COVID-19?
It was hard, but I was kind of used to being a freelancer already.
Sure.
But that said, you suddenly got a lot of time. What do you do? So you fill it up with other things, right? Which people in a 9-to-5 job maybe wouldn't do. You fill it up, not necessarily you may look at it as a hobby, but it's not. Maybe learning another instrument that adds to your, craft. Writing.
It may be an impolite question. How many instruments do you know?
I can't play any instrument amazingly well, but I can play a lot of instruments a little bit. So I'd say maybe 7-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make you a polyglot if we were talking about languages, right? But that's amazing. So you're saying pick up more instruments. Now, I do want to ask you this because you are ultimately, Karan, on a personal finance show.
Right.
And they say that when you're in a profession like yourself and you're doing amazingly well right now, if there was financial advice that you would give to your younger self to say, if you did this, you would be better off.
Right.
In times when you would have struggled,
Yeah.
what would that advice be?
Don't buy too many guitars. But yeah, I mean, I would say I've been fairly disciplined when it comes to investing and, saving and all of
Yeah.
that. Fortunately. But that said, I've also blown up some money buying guitars and synthesizers and
Sure.
other things. But yeah, I've been fortunate enough to buy them. But yeah, that's something I would tell people
To
in
invest
music,
consistently.
To invest consistently. the flashy new equipment is not always something you need. A lot of times it's something you want, right? And you think, I'll buy this and it'll make me better, but that's not true. You are as good as you are. So what the things you have, of course, they help, but try and make the most out of what you already have. And all the excess money you manage to get in, keep it away somewhere, invest it well, watch this show, and maybe that'll surely help you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, Karan, thanks so much for taking the time. Pleasure speaking
Thank
with
you. Likewise. Thank you so
And
much.
I hope that you find your passion and that you have the confidence to take it up and make a career out of it. The path is set, and the landscape is evolving even as we speak. Thanks so much for watching. This is NDTV Profit.